everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany React Show, and on this show we talk all things movies and entertainment. Today we have a lot of fun things to go over. We do have to go over the Superman second weekend box office. We have to talk about, I did see Demon Hunters. I told you I was going to give you my review of Demon Hunters and Jurassic World, so we're going to go over that. We do have a bit of box office tracking for Fantastic Four, so we're going to talk about that. We have the new Stranger Things trailer. We have a Hoppers trailer. So like I said, we actually have a lot of really fun things to talk about today. I saw someone in the chat say that I scheduled this for next month. What? Is that true? I really hope not. Because if that's true, then I don't know if YouTube will send out notifications to anyone. But anyway, hi everyone. Hi Christian. Hi Mythic. Hi Eugene. Hi Cheetah Viper. Hi Sunset Jaws. Hi Sketch9. Hi Natanya. Hi Indazalama. Hi Mythic. Hi Grunge. Hi Naomi. And thank you to each and every one of you who is here. I deeply, deeply appreciate it. And I love the little crowns next to your names. It means that you're like a really engaged fan. So shout out to everyone who has a crown next to their name. And Natanya, because you're also my moderator. So thank you. We might need you because last time, I don't know what was going on with that person. They've been blocked, so that they will not be back to my channel. It said August 20th? Oh, crap. Well, I did not mean to do that. Well, obviously, it's not August 20th, so... Hello! You come here for the entertainment, not for the tech savviness. Anyway... Oh, you did get a notification? That's good. That's good. I wasn't sure if you would, so that's good. Anyway, let's just get straight into the box office news. So I want to give you just like a rundown on a couple of like older movies just to give you an update on how they're doing. So Lilo and Stitch released on, Lilo and Stitch, I think it just finally crossed $1 billion, which is, I mean, it's been slow. I really didn't think it was going to get there at one point. I thought it was going to be like the Minecraft movie where it was going to get really close to $1 billion, but not actually cross $1 billion, but it did actually cross $1 billion. And it had a really low budget, so they actually made quite a lot of money on this movie. The unfortunate thing, though, is that because they've had so many other flops, like they had Captain America, that was a flop. They had Thunderbolts, that was a flop. They had Snow White, that was a flop. Because they've had so many big, huge money-losing flops, I think almost all of the profits that they probably made from this movie will go to like making up for like movies that that didn't do well earlier. So even though this is good for them, overall I think they probably need more hits because I don't think this alone would be enough for them. They do have Zootopia, so that should I think that will be a hit for them. And then Avatar, but I think with the Avatar franchise, I think James Cameron get most of those profits, so Disney likes promoting them because it's good to like say that they're associated with Avatar, but I don't think they really get like a lot of money from that franchise. Even though they make a ton of money, which is ironic. James Cameron just makes a lot of money from it. But anyway, I've already said enough about my opinions on Lilo and Stitch. It's not my favorite movie, but I'm not surprised it did this well. Stitch brand is super popular, so I'm not surprised about it. And they're making a sequel, and that will probably also do well. Yeah, they did need this movie to be a hit, Natanya. You're right. Also, Jurassic World. As I said, I was going to give you my review on Jurassic World because I did finally get around to seeing it. It just crossed $640 million globally. The film had a $180 million budget, allegedly. I'm saying allegedly behind any, like, film budget now because I don't believe most of them. I think they try to, like, underplay how much they actually spend. So, like, because they know more people pay attention to the box office now. So, like, they don't want their numbers to look bad if like they're not as high as they should be, so they like report lower budgets than they actually have. So we'll just like go by what they're telling us, but I always like put a little asterisk on these things now. But anyway, 640 million. I would say this is a good box office, but it's not great. I mean, it's good enough that they'll make profit from this and that it's not an embarrassment or a flop or anything. But the last several Jurassic World movies all made $1 billion, and this one won't even come close. So I do think, or if it comes close, it won't be like, it just won't cross $1 billion. I don't see that in its path. So I do see that as like diminishing returns for this franchise, especially since even though I actually like the film, and I'll get to my reasons in a second, I do acknowledge that I think the word of mouth around this movie is mixed. Not everyone liked it. So I do think that this just shows you that like if they're going to keep going with this franchise, they need to like figure out what actually is going to make people happy with these movies again, because they can't keep putting out movies that like are only so of people only like kind of like, because they are getting diminishing returns at this point. Um so and now I'm about to get into my actual review, because I feel like I'm actually kind of frustrated that this movie is going to end up making less money than the last one, because I feel like this is a far better movie than the last one. As I've said repeatedly, the Jurassic World Dominion is like one of my least favorite films I've ever seen. I had a terrible experience watching it in the theater. I thought it was like a genuinely bad movie. And I love Jurassic Park, like the original Jurassic Park. I even like the first Jurassic World movie. But what they did with the last movie, I just hated so much. It made me lose interest in the whole franchise, which is why I got around to seeing this movie late, because I was like, I don't even know if I even care about these movies anymore. I hated the last one so much. But I ended up liking this one more. The reason why I liked this one more was because it actually focused on the dinosaurs. Like, that's like the bare minimum. That is the bare minimum of what I wanted from these movies. I wanted just to, like, have them, see, be amazed by dinosaurs, hide from dinosaurs, just, be a dinosaur movie. And the last movie was not a dinosaur movie. It was a sci-fi movie that had a dinosaur subplot. And it was about everything but dinosaurs, it seemed like. And I was just like, I don't know what I'm watching here, but this isn't what I wanted. This movie, it's all just like running and hiding from dinosaurs. And there's even a scene where there's like an amazement of dinosaurs, like being amazed at dinosaurs again. And that's honestly what I love the most about the Jurassic Park movie, is like the wonderment, the like looking up at these amazing creatures and being amazed and filled with wonder again. They even had a scene like this in the movie, and I really appreciated it. In fact, that was my favorite scene. So the fact that it was just about dinosaurs, there was no weird clone subplot, there was no weird like bee thing. It was just dinosaurs, was like my bare minimum, and it was met. So I was like, all right, this is at least better than the last one. And like it was more coherent plot wise than the last one, so I just enjoyed it a lot more. I even liked the family characters. In fact, they were my favorite of the series. In fact, I would even go as far as to say I think Scarlett Johansson was my least favorite character in this movie. Normally I like Scarlett Johansson, but I kind of felt like she was very flat, like acting wise in this movie, and I thought every other character was more interesting than her. And I thought the family was what kept me the most engaged, because like I cared about what happened to the kids and all that. But like, I don't know, I kind of felt like the main characters like Scarlett Johansson and even Mahershala Ali were like less interesting than the supporting characters. So that was interesting. Also, they still had the same thing that the last like couple movies had, which I don't like, which is that, and this is kind of a spoiler, but it's not a major one, but it's that like the idea that the public has gotten tired of dinosaurs, that like they're not interesting anymore, and so like they're trying to find new ways of keeping them interesting. And it's like, I don't buy that would ever happen in real life. Out of all the crazy stuff that goes on in these movies, the least believable thing for me is the idea that people got over dinosaurs. Like, I just don't buy it. And so that was a huge ask for me in the previous Jurassic World movies, and it was a huge ask for me again in this one, because I just don't buy that would ever happen. I buy bringing back dinosaurs to real life before I buy people get tired of those dinosaurs. Like, I just personally don't buy it. But other than that, like, I thought it was an actually okay, enjoyable, fun summer blockbuster. Is it like the best, most amazing movie in the world? No. Is it going to be my favorite movie of the year? No. But it also, I was thoroughly entertained, and I can say that I had a good time in the theater, which is more than what I can say last time. So, I don't know. I kind of like it. If I had to grade it out of a 10, I would say, honestly, I would give it like a 7. I think it was a solid 7. Like, I had a good time. What can I say? So I'm a little annoyed that it's going to do less than the last one, but at least it's doing well enough that, like, it's not a flop. Naomi says she had no expression. Yeah, and I honestly, I feel like Scarlett Johansson is kind of known for having a bit of a stoic demeanor. Like, she's had that in other roles, but I think it's worked better in other roles than it works here. I just thought she was really, like, flat and, like, had very little expression throughout most of the movie. Like, something crazy would happen and she would just be, like, stone faced. And I was just like, are you gonna do anything? Are you gonna react anyway? Like, I don't know. I honestly thought she was the weakest link in the movie. Jonathan Bailey, though, I did like him. Jonathan Bailey was actually my favorite in the movie. I liked him and the family. Those are my favorite characters. In fact, I'm all for Jonathan Bailey as leading man because I loved him in Wicked, and now I've loved him in this. I thought out of the main trio, I thought he had the most charisma on camera, honestly. Corbin says, I enjoyed the movie. I rated it an 8 out of 10. Yeah, I think it was solid. I really do. Um, Dylan says, I like the idea of the locust swamps. That maybe should have been an animated show or something, but not a movie. It's a dinosaur franchise after all. Yeah, the locust things, I had no interest. I was just like, what are we doing here? Um, oh, minimum, you think that her stoicness makes her cool? I think she thinks it makes her look cool. And I think in some roles it works for her, but in this one, when you're like reacting to people getting eaten by dinosaurs right in front of you, I don't think the cool thing is just to like act blasé about it like she does in this movie. So for me, that performance just did not work in this film. I'm not saying she's a bad actress. I'm just saying I did not like her performance in this particular movie. But I've liked her in other things. But anyway, let's move on from Jurassic World. So F1 did cross 460 million globally. The film had a $200 million budget. So this is actually pretty good for an original adult film. That's a crazy high budget. Why are these budgets so high? Like, that's insane for just like a car movie. I'm sorry. I know it's like it's got action in it. I get it, but like there's got to be a way to bring these budgets down cuz like why is every movie like minimally $200 million? I feel like that's not sustainable. But anyway, and the fact that this was supposed to be like an Apple movie, I don't know. Anyway, I mean it's doing much better than like a lot of people thought it would. I still think it's not going to get like near what like Top Gun Maverick did. I'm like obviously not going to get anywhere close to that. So I do think that it does have a ceiling, like I said on my last show. I think it was 2 weeks ago now, where I said that I think that there's just like a ceiling of interest on these kinds of movies. And by kinds of movies, I mean like sports car movies. Because I think that there's only like so much of an audience that will watch something like that. Like I said, I think this is a very male leaning movie or franchise, even more so than something like Top Gun Maverick. And I think that's why it's not going to get anywhere close to something like that. But it is doing decently on its own, though. So I think Apple should definitely be happy with what it's making here. Now, who should not be happy? The Smurfs. Oh my gosh, the Smurfs just earned only $11 million at the domestic box office. The budget was $58 million, the lowest ever for the franchise. So yeah, Smurfs flopped basically. I mean, I knew it was going to flop when they made Rihanna's song flop. Like, how did they make Rihanna flop? I knew the movie was doomed when like not even Rihanna could like get this movie to trend or like get talked about. I think the Smurfs, honestly, even when I was a kid, I thought the Smurfs was an old IP. Like, I do think that they've tried to make it new and fresh with, like, lots of reboots and reinventions of the characters, but I do think that, as we'll talk about when I get to Demon Hunters, I do think that, like, this younger audience, like the kids now and teenagers today, I think that they're into, like, much different franchises and much different IPs than like even my generation as kids. Like I do not think that they care about the Smurfs. Like I didn't even care about the Smurfs when I was a kid. So I think kids today really do not care about the Smurfs. So I think that and we'll talk more about this when we get to Demon Hunters, but I do think that this just shows you that like some of these IP you can only extend for so long, especially when the younger audience that's meant to watch this stuff just is no longer interested. It also only got a B plus cinema score, which for an animated family film like this is kind of terrible. Those usually get like an A pretty easily, so for it to be a B at all is like, I don't think audiences were really feeling the film, and like it got bad critic reviews. So like I think this franchise is just spent. I'm so mad they made Rihanna flop. So maybe I have a personal gripe now. But anyway, did any of you guys see the Smurfs? Are you guys into Smurfs? What are your thoughts here? Oh, Naomi, your friend dragged you to see Smurfs and it was awful. Yeah, I mean, I I just think this franchise is like really old and outdated. It's kind of like the I hope not to offend anyone here. But I kind of see it as like the Muppets at this point, where it's like, it's just like a very old IP. I do feel like kids want new IP now, not just like what their parents and grandparents were watching. Um, Dylan says, I'm Gen Z with boomer parents, so I saw a handful of the original episodes. I've never even seen the original episodes. Like, they were just really not a thing for me when I was a kid. Ethereal Dragon says the pole position cartoon wasn't even about racing, but instead a Knight Rider ripoff. What are we talking about? We're talking about Smurfs. I'm only going to talk about Smurfs right now. Dylan says, same here, I thought it was old. Yeah, it's just a very old franchise. Like, I saw another, like, article or whatever talking about how, like, Disney might still be interested in saving the Indiana Jones franchise, and they just want to like recast Harrison Ford as someone younger. And I'm like, even if you put like Chris Pratt in that role, I don't think that it would do what you want it to. I just think that the franchise is like, it's just a bit old. And again, I'm gonna get more into this in the Demon Hunter section, but I think that the reason why Demon Hunters is doing so well, or not the reason why, but I do think it's like a symbolic of what's going on at the macro level of culture. And I think it's interesting. But anyway, let's move on from Smurfs. So Fantastic Four, yeah, according to Deadline, the tickets are behind Superman by about 20%, which is pretty significant, especially when Superman is only doing so-so. Again, it's doing good, but not great. As far as what Superman is doing, it just dropped 54% in its second weekend, which is a good drop. That actually is a good drop for a superhero film. However, the issue is that it's still doing not well abroad. So, like, that's holding the numbers down generally. And then, also, the opening wasn't quite as high domestically as that they were hoping for. Like, it was still less than the Batman. So, for the Fantastic Four to be tracking lower than Superman, it's tracking to open between 100 and 120, 110 million domestically, and Superman opened to 125. That is not good. Now, I don't know what it's tracking internationally. We could have a situation where like Fantastic Four does better overseas than Superman, so then therefore it does better overall, even if it does worse domestically. If that makes sense. I could totally see that happening, especially if Marvel is still has sway abroad, which it might. I honestly don't know. In fact, if you're outside of the US, can you tell me in your country, do people still care about Marvel? Is like the Marvel hype still there abroad? So I'm really curious to see if like how well this will do abroad, since Superman didn't do very well abroad at all. Like, did Superman not do well abroad because like, is it like anti-American sentiment? Is it like superhero fatigue? Is it just Marvel fatigue? What is it? Oh, not Marvel. Is it just like, I guess, yeah, superhero fatigue? Like, why, if, I want to know, like, if the reason that Superman didn't do well abroad will be the same possible reason that, like, Fantastic Four might not do well abroad. So I'm very curious to see what actually, like, Fantastic Four's foreign numbers are, because I think that'll be very telling. But anyway, I really hope that this actually goes up. I think it will go up. I've heard a lot of rumors about what the end credit scenes could be, and those could potentially, add to the box office, get people more excited. So, like, I can definitely see this number going up. It could open higher than this, but the fact that, like, it's tracking this low, I think is not a good sign. But what are your thoughts about Fantastic Four and the abroad situation and all of this? What are your thoughts here? Oh, Will, you're going to watch for Johnny? Honestly, As I've been saying, I kind of feel like Johnny is the only one that looks like he's bringing any sort of warmth and charisma to this movie. Now, I will say we have had early reactions to people who have seen Fantastic Four, and they are positive. However, I also want to say that like I'm beginning to not trust like early reactions at all. Because I mean, I don't know if you guys are aware, but like there's like a very much like a would I guess I would say like a controversy in the sense that like people aren't really sure of which critics to trust anymore, because like it seems like some reviews are paid off, or like people are giving more positive reviews in favor of access, and like there's like a whole talk around like just movie influencer culture, and like is it genuine, or are these reviews even genuine? So like very very early first reactions I'm beginning to take with a grain of salt at this point. Even with Superman, they were all like amazing and glowing, and then I think the actual word of mouth is kind of mixed. So I don't know. I That's why I didn't even like add a slide for the first reactions to Fantastic Four, because I don't know what to trust anymore. But just to be fair, they are positive at first. Um, Ethereal says some of these are doing better internationally. Which of these? The Fantastic Four interviews have been cringy. I hadn't even been watching the interviews. Have they been cringy? Um, Cupcake says you never trust early reviews. At this point, I don't either. Yeah, that's why I didn't even like want to talk about them. So I was like, we'll see. Time will tell. Um, Poke Garage says forget paid reviews. Now it's all about haters ruining movies for us. I think there's definitely both happening. I don't think it's one or the other. I think we have like people who are toxically negative, and I think there are people who are toxically positive. I think there are both things happening at the same time. Um, but anyway, let's move on to the news section. So I do want to talk about Demon Hunters because I find this story to actually be fascinating, and I did watch the movie. I watched the movie at my friend's house actually. We had like it was so fun. It was like we were like teenagers again. We were like sitting up and watching. Anyway. Um but anyway, we watched the movie, and I had several like epiphanies while I was watching it. Firstly, I think that Eastern entertainment is going to take over as the dominant form of culture very soon. And when I say very soon, I mean like within 5 to 10 years. And I say that because Hollywood entertainment, Western entertainment, is becoming less and less popular with like teenagers and Gen Alpha, as they're favoring like K-pop and Korean culture, K-dramas, anime, video games that come from Japan, like even China. I think is like starting to become like a bigger thing with like the Chinese culture and stuff. So like my mom is also a teacher, so like she tells me things about like what her kids are into, what they talk about. And from what I understand, and especially after watching this movie, it's become very clear that I think that like kids today and teens are very much into like East Asian culture more than they are into Western culture and entertainment. And I say that because this movie, while not just being about K-pop, like yes, it's a K-pop story, but that's not even like entirely what I'm talking about here. Even the actual like plot, like how the story is told, is like very Eastern in its structure than it is Western. There are even like very Ghibli-esque sort of spirit characters in this movie. Like there's so many like East Asian tropes in this movie that are, I would say that even though this is an American film, well, it's made by Sony Animation, American company, technically. It's not, really anime, but it has so many of those like Asian influences across like both Korean and Japanese influence that I feel like that really speaks to what kids today are really into. Naomi says, as a teacher too, I agree. Yeah, I think it's fascinating. And I think honestly, um, I think this has been happening slowly for a long time, but I think it's just now becoming more mainstream and accepted. But I really did like the film. I really, really did like the film. I thought that the animation was fun and very creative. Like comparing it to Elio, which is, the last Disney animated film that I've seen. I know it's Pixar, but it's still Disney. I That animation was so boring. It is Grubhub animation. I'm so glad that I'm seeing countless videos now on YouTube talking about how terrible this animation is because it really is fugly. Compared to like Demon Hunters, where the animation is smooth, it's beautiful, it's colorful, but it's also creative because it has some of those like anime influences too. Like it's just much more pleasing on the eyes, and also like they fill up the frame more with more like creative stuff in the background. One of my other complaints about Elio, that's how like the backgrounds were always like plain and boring because like there was nothing going on. That's not the same in this movie. Like the world is so rich. It's like there's so much detail in every frame. There's so much detail to all the environments. It really does remind me of like a lot of like anime movies that I've seen. And I really liked that. I thought the writing was also strong. Like I thought the characters were all like very well defined. My favorite was actually May. I really liked her. I thought she was like a very mature character for this kind of movie, but I really liked her. I love the idea of her scars like appearing and that becoming like a physical metaphor of like what's going on with her internally. I thought that was really cool. I think the music is even fun. I like the music. Um, so like I really liked this. I liked this movie a lot. I like the Demon Hunters movie more than like I think most Disney or Pixar animated films I've seen in recent memory. I think the only one maybe recently I've liked more is Inside Out 2, and I would add Soul because I really liked Soul. But other than that, like I'd say like this Demon Hunters movie is better than a lot of the movies that Disney is currently putting out. It just has more heart, more creativity, more passion, and I think it's just doing something a lot more fresh and interesting than the kinds of stuff that they're putting out now. And I think that Disney really needs to like look at why like Elio was flopping, and we're gonna look at the Hoppers trailer and like why that will likely flop compared to like why this did well. Because I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and maybe I should have included some slides here, but what are you guys talking about on the side here? Why are you talking about Call Me by Your Name? Um, but anyway, if you, what was I saying? You guys distracted me. What are you guys having a whole conversation? I don't know. But what I'm trying to say is that I do think that like this is the kind of stuff that Disney should be making more of. They need to focus on making things that are more like fresh and interesting and different. And one thing that I do think makes it more fresh is that if you one of the things that like I thought was that stood out to me was how like girly the movie is. And I'm saying that stands out because think about the most similar movie that Disney has probably made recently to this film is Turning Red, because that also had like a boy band aspect to it and had like, fangirls and stuff like that. But the main leads weren't like very girly in the sense that they were like super cool looking and had cool clothes and like, you know, could like have like cool colored hair. Like they were like just like very awkward looking teenagers, which I get they were supposed to look like real teenagers. But I don't think that's like really fun or interesting for kids to want to watch. Which is another thing that I think makes Demon Hunters more attractive to say than something like a Turning Red is the fact that these girls are like more cool and like girly looking in a way, that they're like just more feminine. I do think that is part of the attraction here as well, which I think is interesting. So anyway, I just noticed like a few things that were different. So Pop Raj agrees with me. Yes, it's more like girly pop. I think that's part of it. I think we're in a middle of like a femininity renaissance, and I think that's great. And I think that Demon Hunters definitely had a lot of that. So yeah, I think this is interesting, and I think Disney should take notes from what Demon Hunters did well. So that's why wanted to bring up Demon Hunters, and I brought up this tweet just to show like some other people have been saying the same thing. That Demon Hunters is a brand new IP. Because as I was going to say, this is what I was going to say before I forgot. Like the people at Pixar have been blaming the audience for Elio flopping, saying like, "Oh, you wanted original films, but you aren't showing up for the original films." Well, because your original films suck. Here's an original film that people actually watch, Demon Hunters, because it's actually good. That just shows you that people still will watch original things when it's good. And people didn't watch Elio because it was not good. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring that up because I'm really annoyed that Pixar seems to be blaming the audience these days when I do not think the audience is the problem here. But anyway, speaking of Pixar, just to show you that the audience is most definitely not the problem here. This is their new movie coming out called Hoppers, and it's about this scientist who makes like a robot beaver and decides to put the mind of a girl into this robot beaver so that she can like go and talk to other beavers in the wild. Does that sound interesting to you? Because that's what this is about. First of all, I kind of like her character design a little bit. I like the top half. But then she's got the bean mouth syndrome, and it's the same ugly art style that I've been hating on. So I'm not into this. They kind of try to change it a little bit, but it's not enough. It's still this weird like loose mouth shape. I'm not here for it. But anyway, this is the scientist. They're in this lab, and this is where they're like creating these like animatronics or whatever. And so she's like, here you go, you got this like doll here, and I'm gonna put your brain into this like animatronic thing. And so like that's what she does. She switches her mind into this like thing, and then now she's wakes up and she's the beaver. Oh, this is Pixar's new film. Does this sound appealing? Does this concept make you want to go rush to the theater? Because I gotta tell you, this concept does not make me want to go rush to the theater. This looks like bad early DreamWorks. Not even Illumination. Like, I think Illumination makes better quality than this. This looks like Over the Hedge. And, like, I liked Over the Hedge when I was a kid, but I can acknowledge now as an adult that's not, like, a great film. But this is giving me, like, Over the Hedge vibes. You know what I mean? Like, this is not Pixar quality to me at all. This looks like a joke. This looks really bad, and it looks like an inevitable dead on arrival flop to me. I don't like the animation. I don't like the concept. I don't like the story. There's almost nothing about this that works for me. But are you guys more interested? Does the concept work for some of you? What are your thoughts on this? I know, and there's an Avatar joke in the trailer. Thank you, Vincent. There's an Avatar joke in the trailer that feels so forced that it almost makes me feel like Disney told Pixar to include an Avatar joke just to prove that Avatar has cultural relevancy. Because it just feels so weird and out of place. Will says it's like Avatar for kids done extremely poorly. Yeah, it kind of is. It's like Avatar but for beavers instead of being like a cool Navi. That's kind of like the pitch, which is weird. I don't think that looks interesting to me. But maybe you guys might agree or disagree. Eugene thinks it's a flop. Mythic says this is not something I'd see in theaters. Yes, you did miss it, Lewis. Sunset Draws says, what themes will be the movie explore? Dylan says, I did laugh while watching the trailer. Okay, well, someone laughed. And like the thing with Pixar is that they used to make movies that everyone of all ages could get into, like even the parents and the kids. But now it seems like they're only wanting to make stuff that really only not just appeals to kids, but like appeals to young kids. I don't know why they're doing that. I feel like they're like niching the appeal of their movies, and I think that's not a good idea. Rob says, I'll hold out hope if it can make me cry. Really? I mean, at least you have hope. I don't. That does not work for me at all. So yeah, I think that this is just like a sign of why they're not doing too hot, because even their original movies are just not interesting. I want to support their original movies, but not when there's stuff like this. Speaking of Illumination, Illumination is making a Barbie movie, a completely animated Barbie movie. It will be separate from the Margot Robbie Barbie movie. So, I think this is. I mean, I'm not surprised because Barbie was such a hit that, like, I'm sure there's more that you can do with the Barbie brand. And I even think that this animated Barbie movie could do well. There's already been a million Barbie movies, but because Illumination's doing it, this won't be just another, like, direct DVD sort of, like, Barbie movie. I think this will have higher production standards, at least higher quality. So I do think that this is, like, a bit different than all the million other Barbie movies. So this could be big. I do think that this could be successful. It's a little weird that it's coming so close after the live action, but honestly, it made so much money. I'm not surprised Illumination wants to jump on this. Would you guys want to watch an animated Barbie movie from Illumination? What are your thoughts here? Will says this appeals to you. Okay, I'm intrigued as well. I would watch this. Dylan says this will probably make $1 billion. I don't think it's out of the question. I don't think it's a guarantee, but I wouldn't be surprised either. Bob says it's gonna suck. Barbie is very much Greta Gerwig's voice. You think Greta Gerwig is the only one who can make a successful Barbie movie? I don't think that's true. There's already been a ton of Barbie movies. I don't know. I don't think that's true. I think someone else can do it. Greta did a good job, but I think someone else can do it. Spyro fan says K-pop Demon Hunters is the best animated movie so far. I think so far, yeah. I think it is so far this year. Ethan says, I feel like the appeal of Barbie was its social commentary, and I don't think Illumination will do that. I think Barbie was actually successful despite its social commentary. Because it wasn't, if you guys remember the marketing wasn't about the social commentary. The marketing was about the escapist Barbie world. And that's what attracted people to the movie. I actually think it's the political commentary that ages the film and holds it back the most, to be honest. Natanya needs a trailer. Yeah, the trailer will tell us everything. I'm thinking this will probably be like another Barbie World movie where they actually stay in Barbie World the whole time. I think that's probably what they'll do. But yeah, I think there's actually hope for this. We'll see. Moving on. So, sorry, speaking of animation, sorry Spider-Man fans, because Spider-Verse movie, the next one, just got delayed. No, I don't think anyone's surprised by that. They basically, from what it sounds like behind the scenes, I bet we'll find out more in 2027, but it sounds like there's some drama because there was already drama behind the last Spider-Verse film, and now this one's getting delayed. It sounds like there's even more drama. So if you guys don't know, what happened with the last movie, from what we heard on behind the scenes, was that, like, apparently the creators, the Phil Lord and Chris Miller, they kept wanting to, like, change things last minute and, like, change things constantly to the point where, like, they would have an artist animate an entire sequence and then tell them to start over and do something else. And, like, they would do that frequently. And that's why, like, so many things were changing even after the movie was released. So it sounds like they're changing things again for the next movie, and I think part of the reason why it's delayed is because I suspect that they're making a significant amount of story changes from what they were originally going to do. And I think the reason why they're making story changes is because I think the directors put a lot of pressure on themselves after how, like, groundbreaking the first Spider-Verse movie was, and it was groundbreaking, that I feel like they turned into perfectionists. And I think that they probably were disappointed with the reception of the second movie, because even though it did do better, like, box office wise in the first one, and it still got good reviews, I feel like it didn't have the same kind of cultural impact or staying power as the first movie, and it didn't get the Oscar. So I feel like they probably feel like they have something to prove, and I think that probably drove them to make some changes. So that's what I think is happening here, my personal guess here. But how do you feel about this delay? Are you upset about it? Are you surprised? What are you thinking? I know you're saying it's just by the 3 weeks, but I think it's gonna be more than that. And you have to remember this is not the first delay. So this movie was originally supposed to come out this year, I believe. So this is like what is it, like the third or fourth delay? I bet there will be another delay. Like I wouldn't be surprised if this is like just one of the delays. Rob says perfectionist. I love it. I definitely think they've become perfectionists. Um, doesn't seem like too many people care. Honestly, I do feel like these movies are taking too long to come out. I think the interest and hype in the franchise has dimmed a bit. So, yeah, they need to get these movies out quicker. Now, we have a new Stranger Things trailer. I have to say I'm still into Stranger Things. I know online the conversation around this show has become kind of toxic, and I don't understand why people are so negative on the show now. But I still like it. I liked the last season. I'm still looking forward to this new season. Steve, I love that they open on Steve Harrington because he's my favorite Stranger Things character. So that gives me hope that we're gonna get to see a lot of him in this season. Um, I just love this actor in general. I hope he gets more work after the show. But anyway, we get to see a bit of the vibe. The vibe is very tense, very like creepy, which I mean, that's very Stranger Things. But what I love is seeing how everyone is together. One of the things I did not like about the past couple seasons is how they kept like breaking people up. It seems like in this season, like everyone is going to be together, and I am happy about that. Also, I think it's very interesting how like the kids are so grown now that they look like the teenagers that the teens were in the first season, if that makes sense. Like they're now old enough to be what the teenagers were from season 1. Like they do not look like little kids anymore, which is, what happens when you take forever to, make content. But anyway, they've got everyone here. It seems like Will is sensing something. They got to fight something. Seems like the whole town's been taken over. Seems like we still don't know what's happening here with Sam. What's her name in the redhead? I forgot her name, but I love that they're continuing with this relationship because I really like them together. This still looks really good. I love the production values are like cinematic level. Like this does not look like a TV show. Like this looks like more of a movie. And then we have Linda Hamilton. I forgot Linda Hamilton was also in this. Um, so yeah, this has a lot going for it. I'm really looking forward to this season. They're breaking it up into 3 parts, so it's gonna own the holiday season. I think it's going to be all what people are talking about this December. Sorry, Avatar. Um, but yeah, I think this looks good. I think this looks really good. It looks like lots of action, lots of scariness. It didn't really show us Vecna. I think they kind of just teased them. Um, but yeah, really, really excited. Are you guys still interested in this franchise? What are you thinking? Max, that's her name. Thank you. Rob says 11 has aged into Nancy. That's what I'm saying. Like, literally, she actually has. Like, these kids are now looking old enough to be the teens from season 1. Like, it's taken way too long to be, put the show out. Eugene says, I saw a post about run times. I hope it's not true. 2+ hours each episode. Yeah, I think each episode's gonna be like a movie. I mean, the last season was basically like that, so I'm not surprised the final season would be the same. So yeah, be prepared for a lot of content. That's why they're breaking it up into 3 parts, because it's gonna be like 3 movies per parts. Or no, I don't know if it's just 3 episodes. How many episodes per part? I'm not sure. But yeah, each episode's gonna be like a movie length. Ethan says Stranger Things and Christmas isn't it a Halloween thing? Well, if you remember, the first season it was done around Christmas time, so it's always been like sort of like a Nightmare Before Christmas thing, where it's kind of both a Halloween and a Christmas thing. Because I don't know if you guys remember the first season, like the Christmas lights scene was huge. It was like part of the marketing and everything. So I actually think ending this around Christmas is correct, because this started off being like a creepy Christmas thing. Yeah, I think it's actually smart to release it in parts. I know some people are annoyed by that, but I do think that it'll help people like actually remember and like take in what they see better. Because like I think when you just binge everything all at once, like it's very easy to forget what happens. Um, One person here says, I feel the show went on too long. That may be the issue. Yeah, the show has gone on too long. I'm glad this is the last season. I think if they tried to go even longer than this, then I think people would have given up. But I think this being the last season is accurate, and I think that the reviews, the ratings would probably be like through the roof. Rob says Stranger Things is more of a summer show. It has been recently, but it didn't start off that way. If you guys remember, the first season took place around Christmas time, and like the Christmas aesthetic was a huge part of the show and the brand. So I think it makes sense to go like full circle and end it around the Christmas season again. But anyway, I do think it has taken too long to get these seasons out, so I'm not surprised that people are just ready for it to be done. I think even the cast are ready to be done. So the last thing we're going to talk about is actually Harry Potter. So we're getting some new images of what some of the characters look like in the new Harry Potter show. So here's Dominic McLaughlin as Harry Potter. We do have Nick Frost as Hagrid. The reason why I wanted to bring up these images here is because this kind of answers a couple of questions that I've been having about this show, in the sense that you have, these very popular theme parks that I've been to, that millions of people have been to. They're now around the world. Like the Harry Potter brand, the aesthetic, the look, the environment has a very clearly defined look. Like Hogwarts has a clearly defined look. Diagon Alley, Hogsmeade has a clearly defined look. The Hogwarts robes. I mean, everything in the theme parks is based on what it looks like in the movies. Like, it all has, a very clearly defined look. So if you're going to reboot Harry Potter, my question has been for a long time, not Timu Harry Potter. Stop. Y'all are not serious. But my question has been for a long time, how are you going to reboot something when there's already, several theme parks with an established look on how this IP should look and feel? And from what it seems like they're doing with the reboot, they're not changing the look at all. So if you look at Harry here, it looks like his robes and what he's wearing is, exactly what, they wore in the movies. It doesn't look like they're changing the Hogwarts robes look at all. So, because if you go to the theme parks, you can buy a Hogwarts robe. You can buy a Gryffindor's sweater and tie and all of that. You can go and buy a whole Hogwarts getup at the parks. So it looks like they won't even have to change the merchandise because it looks like they're giving them the exact same costume as the movies. So that explains that. And then if you look at Hagrid, he looks like almost like the last Hagrid. I mean, I think everyone looks well cast. I think they all look like their parts, but he even the costume looks a lot like Robbie Coltrane's costume. The beard looks exactly like Robbie Coltrane's beard. So I guess that they had to do that because Hagrid has his own ride in Harry Potter World. He has Hagrid's Motorbike Adventure, which is actually a really fun ride. But Hagrid, again, on that ride already has a very clearly defined look about, what he's supposed to look like. So I guess they couldn't deter too far from that look because he already has his own ride. So I'm still looking forward to this Harry Potter show. I am. I do think if they get into more about, the stuff that was in the books that they left out of the movie, and there are a lot of stuff, especially in the later books, I think that there could still be a lot of new things here. However, it does look like just from aesthetics alone that they're keeping the exact same aesthetics. It doesn't look like they're changing the look of anything at all, which explains the whole, what are they going to do about the theme parks? Sounds like the merchandise and everything is not going to have to change, because I think that they're going to keep the exact same look for everything. It's just going to be new characters. So that kind of explains that. I was wondering, but now we know. So are you guys looking forward to the new Harry Potter show? What are your reservations about it? Just seeing the new cast and their costumes, give you excitement. What are your thoughts here? Danielle says, I'm 99% sure I won't be watching. Okay. Paul Crush says, I have no hope except for the kids actors who are going to be locked in. I think the kid actors look like they've been really well cast, so I'm happy with that. One person here says, Brittany, I think this just brings to light what I've asked in another stream. Why is this show even a thing? Money. And Hollywood is desperate to, have you watch things. The reason why they keep rebooting stuff is because, A, people aren't watching a lot of the originals because a lot of the original stuff just isn't that good. And so they're desperate to keep people watching their stuff. So they're like, let's just go back to the same stuff we already know works and just do it again. And that's been working for the most part, but like it's not going to work forever. And it's kind of already like that strategy is falling off the wheels. So I think in a few years, it's all just going to like go kaput. I'm not even trying to be a doomer. I'm just like reading the tea leaves of how like with how AI is progressing, and like soon everyone's going to be able to request their own AI movie. And I'm trying to remain positive, but I'm having a hard time remaining positive. I'm sorry. I think Hollywood is going to have a lot of issues with the future in keeping control of like what people are watching. I do not think Hollywood would be the main source of like entertainment within like 5 years. And I think Stephen Colbert being canceled is just a harbinger of what's to come. I think a lot of the old media is like about to just be completely canceled and fall apart. Because most of it's like pretty unsustainable at this point. Ethereal Dragon says, let other countries write shows about other magic schools. I think I actually played the Hogwarts Legacy video game, and I liked the story in that game. I was actually thinking they were going to adapt that game, and I would have watched it. I thought that would have been interesting. I kind of wish they had done that instead. Oh, that's a good question, Pokraj. Who's going to outdo Emma Thompson as Sybil Trelawney? I don't know. She was so perfect as that character. It's going to be hard. It's going to be really hard. I don't know. You know who is different? I forgot to show the Dursleys. The Dursleys do look a little bit different. So let me see if I can find a picture of the Dursleys. Because they are the first one that I've seen that do kind of have a significantly different look. Let's see. Yeah, so we do have a picture here. These are the Dursleys. So both mom, aunt, and uncle Dursley. And then we have a picture. I think this is Dudley. So they look very interesting. They do look very British. I will say, they all look very British, especially this picture. So they do have a bit of a different look. Like, it looks like Dursley is like wearing a tracksuit now. I think that fits actually. I think he was wearing a tracksuit in Order of the Phoenix, wasn't he? So I think that fits. So I don't know. How do you guys feel about how the Dursleys look now? Daniel says they're more book accurate. Okay. Yes, Emma Thompson is still alive. Oh my god. I don't know. I kind of like this look. So this is the only thing that's slightly different. I kind of like it. But overall, I think the casting has been pretty accurate. But anyway, that's everything I had for the show. Thank you all for coming. This has been really fun. Thank you all for just being here for my random musings. I'll be back next week. I will see Fantastic Four, so make sure you subscribe for that review. And I'll see you guys then.